What it is, what it was, what it shall be. We are back again. Video 63. Today's video is called Reading and Writing to the Ether. So in our previous videos, we've been working up through the elements and we finally made it to ether, and this is where all the magic happens. What is ether? Ether is the informational blueprint behind all reality. Some people refer to it as the Akashic Records. You could think of it as a medium through which all waves of light energy move. Basically, it's like an ocean, an invisible, massless, timeless ocean. I relate this to the Vajradhatu in Buddhism, which is this timeless world where all the ascended masters all exist in their perfected forms, free from time. And through training, we can learn to not only sense this reality, this plane of existence and this plane of energy, but we can learn to draw it, work with it, transform it, etc. This is something that's been technologically realized for decades. Okay, I keep using the phrase time control technology, and it's real. I mean, there's technological and biological aspects to it. So, this has always existed as long as human history has been here. We've had prophecy and prophets, right? So what are they doing? I mean, I think one of the best examples, at least that we relate to, would be Philip K. Dick and his experiences and what he talked about. And how he basically, some people could say he was totally nuts and he definitely abused substances and whatnot. But I think there's a reality to some of his concepts. Like he has alternate reality novels or novels that, deal with, okay, so precognition, that was the big thing from Minority Report, is the precog and pre-crime, right? So that's relatable because that's all, it's not in some like mythic ancient past or something like that, and wizards and stuff like that. It's in like modern context or even like futuristic context, right? There's cities, and the whole Babylon system is in full effect, still running the game, right? But the Babylon matrix, like they actually know about the precog factors. They know all kinds of chemicals. They know physical, artificial means to like work with this stuff. So what does that mean? Okay. So things that most people can relate to is sometimes you have a hunch, right? You have a hunch. So let's say we all have hunches, like more than we think. And that, for me, like I always had a hunch about music, and I always had a hunch about learning languages. Like I always knew that was going to be super important, and it's been critical to my whole life and what I feel is my life purpose. And it's like the things that you start doing earliest in life, like you kind of know who you are. You know what I mean? There's something there. There's like a substrate of our consciousness. And another way of saying it would be that our young self and our old wise self are all connected. All throughout the aspects of our life, we have this underlying information pattern in our DNA, our metagenetics, our epigenetics, right? Which is this optical light code, right? But it's basically like a crystal transceiver, okay? So up until this point, most people have talked about it in terms of its static form and the geometry of it and all the chemistry of these different bonds and whatnot. But then you get stuff like methylation, and you get all these different, like turning the codons on and off, like if you think about puberty or these different phases of our lives that we go through, like our physiology changes, the way that our genes express are changed. Like right now I have a beard. I wasn't born with a beard. Didn't have a beard till I was probably a really full beard, probably at least 30, you know what I mean? So, but yet somehow that was in the design, even when I was a baby, you know what I mean? So that's just one example. Like that, I'm just trying to bring it as down to earth as possible. And now say, well, take these same concepts, right, of these causal loops, like retrocausality, right, faster than light communications, quantum entanglement, right? I could go on and on. But let's say that there's a way, this Vajradhatu, right, is real. It's like a plane of time beyond our own, so that we can perceive wide swaths of time as if we were there. You know what I mean? And so I'm trying to think of how the best way to get a common person to relate to this. But just imagine intuition, like your normal intuition or a sixth sense. Like if you ever think about someone, then they call you or something like that. But imagine now this was trained and taught, right? Imagine that a person grew up in a situation where they were always taught that this was normal, and they had their faculty trained by these more experienced masters and these like these wise elders, you know what I mean? And this is a thing that's real. And there, you know, it's been up to now, for a good reason, it's been widely secret, you know? But I think there's a genetic aspect to it, for sure. You know what I mean? But my point is to say, now, okay, through all our technologies and the intercommunications globally now, we all have this amazing power to imprint each other and to share ideas and to replicate ideas and spread them. Propaganda, basically, but it's like a friendly, personal form of propaganda, like propagating what you believe and what you want to see manifested in the world. And for me, I think it's two primary things characterize our future in the positive sense. Number one is the integration between biology and technology in a positive, mutually reinforcing way, like understanding what an unbelievable technological resource nature is. Like, biotechnology is the most impressive technology. Whatever humans create, I don't care how advanced it is, it's a crude ass fucking Lincoln log Lego compared to nature. There's no way. There's no comparison at all. Like, anyway, so let's go on further and say, then the second thing is the unification of this scientific concept, understanding reality on its material basis, combined and fused with spiritual and ethical values, right? So that now we see the science behind spirituality, telepathy, prophecy, you know, bilocation, and all these different phenomena that have been written about over and over and over again in all the spiritual traditions of the world, these higher capacities of human consciousness. So part of that is connecting through time, right? Like for me, like I'm so grateful to have learned and connected to the concept of a lineage. And a lineage is where you sit and meditate on the ancient masters of your lineage, however far back they may go. And you say their names and you chant their prayers and you resonate through your mantrayana, you resonate to their mental frequency. And you establish a connection with that flow of learning and initiation and a positive, benevolent outlook towards humanity. And you're trying to resonate and connect to that, right? But the time element is a key element. Because when you study Buddhism and you learn about these ancient masters, you learn, dude, no matter what you're going through right now, this shit has already happened 1,000 years ago. There's already been this evil, corrupt society of warlords and murdering bastards and criminals and everything festering and raging all around, but yet somehow 2,600 years or more of Buddhist teachings are still here. They still have persevered through all these hardships and genocide and warfare and plague, and it's all still here. There's a thread that's continuing, and it's continuing all the way down. So that gives you this incredible like sense of faith, for one, but also it gives you support, both internally, mentally, and energetically. And this is the way that this higher knowledge is like transferred to you by your will and consent, and by your steady actions, and by offering your own mind and your memories as the like vessel for this info to flow into, right? That's how it should. And with biology, it's the same. Like if you think about the biological aspects of us, like our DNA, our ancestral memory, like that's all attempted to be fucking crushed, destroyed, eradicated, shamed. Oh my God, the shaming of the cultures of the past, you know. If you're not part of the global consumer Babylon monoculture, then your culture is defamed and erased, you know. And that's true for all ethnicities around the world. It's like been systematic for over 1,000 years, eradicating these ancient, unique connections to the ancestral lineage, right? It's all being erased, right? They're attempting it, right? But it's not really fully successful because it's within all of us, right? But my point is, instead of going along with the great dumbing that they're trying to put on you with all this technology, you got to tap in. You got to tap into the past. Think about what all these prior generations of your ancestors have conquered and overcome and survived and persisted. Like, that's the reality. That's what's going to make you free, strong. It's what's going to make you an individual. It's what's going to make you happy. It's what's going to give you self-actualization and creative potential, right? So when I say tapping into the ether, okay, now finally that we're 10 minutes into this video, let's talk about the actual topic. Reading the ether is tapping into this past web, right? Writing into the ether is creating at will through your speech primarily. I'm a Mantrayana hardcore. Mantrayana is the #1, dude. It is the fastest way to enlightenment, and it's imprinting reality. But it takes a high level of competence, right? Because the karma is rapidly multiplied. You know, you think about what would happen if, even on a microscopic scale, like you get the power to manipulate outcomes to your will. You know, I've been doing it carelessly most of my life, and I've seen the consequences of it, and it's not to be trifled with at all. You have to, I mean, it will accelerate. That's the crazy thing about it. Even if you fuck up and you do bad and you ripple out all these gnarly consequences, it will accelerate your evolution. But that's if you're careless, that's the path of pain. That's you get there, but every progress is marked by pain. And you don't really have to take that path. You can take the path of bliss. And the difference between those two paths is interconnectedness, compassion, and awareness, right? Having a win-win mentality, like not just win-win, but omni-win, like everybody wins. All reality wins, right? That's the modality you want to have. So the problem is so much of our programming is duality programming. It's battle programming. Good versus evil, black versus white, up versus down. Everything's this dichotomy, so that the true third party enemy of both sides is completely repressed from the psyche and imagined not to even exist, right? So this is what we have to break through. And it's the biological non-duality between us and the natural environment. Okay, that's #1. Non-duality between each other, like each person, each animal, each living thing that we encounter, we have to realize non-duality. So with the thing about non-duality, it's opposite of our entire culture, because our entire culture is win-lose. It's a zero-sum game, right? Zero-sum game. That means there's some certain scarce quantity of whatever, and someone has to lose in order for someone to win. And that's not how reality works. Reality is symbiotic. Reality is interactive. And like I said, non-dual, right? So there's inner and outer non-dual, right? Then there's like pleasure pain non-dual, right? That's really hard for us to get around, because like I said, we live in total hedonism, right? But anyway, the point is, when you can transcend these categorical duality mindset and you can see the interplay of reality, right? Now this is great power. You have great power on account of that. But you really need to be focusing on the wisdom aspect of it. Like, it's like we're all taught to fetishize power and the ability to have our will at no matter what the cost, right? That's not, it works. That methodology has its effect. Like, you will succeed if you try that and do it thoroughly. Like, you will succeed. It's not that it doesn't work. It's not that it's not real, but it's that you're not going to like that. And it's at best a plateau of your spiritual evolution. Like, you just level off at that point, and then all the higher realities are still cut off to you. So you have to basically transcend this duality. So part of that is what I'm saying, reading and writing to the ether. So the ether is the substrate of us, but it's like almost as if our physicality is almost like a hard drive. That's what our DNA is, this code, right? But you can rewrite the code. You can activate or deactivate the code. And like I said, DNA ultimately is a crystalline transceiver for all these subtle vibratory energies, right? So you can transmit and receive, but it's dynamic, okay? You can imprint it at will, and that's true on the inner and that's true on the outer. Main part of it is mindfulness and steady focus of the mind, vipassana, clear and steady insight. right? That's a huge part of it. And then our speech and our words is part of it. And our actions is part of it. So you refine and master all these qualities and you can read and write to the ether. And that's video 63.